Hi there. So I'm Sandra and I'm with Siobhan. Hi, Siobhan.
Hello.
It's Friday. That means it's both of us again. So, Siobhan, like what we were talking about earlier, like we're thinking about where people like struggle with, like one of the things that stops us getting help, right, is like if you or I were taking crystal meth, right, we would know there was a problem, right? But if you're having a bottle of red wine from Waitrose and you're holding down a job and everything looks okay, it seems like there's a lot of ways you can tell yourself that it's not a problem. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's and don't forget you going to the gym as well, holding down the job and all the rest of it. So yeah, I mean it's just crept into our culture, hasn't it? So I don't know where having a glass of wine with dinner on a Wednesday evening became normal, but it just seems that was the thing. For me started at weekends, Friday evening after work, and then it became all Saturday we'd sit down and watch a film. Then Sunday, well, it's Sunday, isn't it? With having a lazy day, and then well, then it became Monday, and I will just have a glass of wine with dinner, and well, and before I knew it, from my experience, an open bottle became an empty bottle, and it just but it's the normalizing and the acceptance of this is what we do, and
Yeah.
if you look on social media, look on cards, everything makes it normal, makes it part of a daily thing rather than the occasion that what it was when certainly when I was a kid, I think it was. But yeah, that's it just crept in.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like when I think about like my mum's generation, like they would have like they would have been, my mum would have seen one of her friends and they would have had like a cup of tea, right? And when I think about like me moving to London and getting a good job, like, and then you could go out for a drink after work, it felt quite sophisticated, right? It felt like it didn't feel like there was a problem. Like I remember going to this bar in Canary Wharf on a Friday night. There was only one bar. Like I was in my 20s, right? It was called the Cat and Canary, originally enough. And everyone used to just pile down there on a Friday. And because it was an investment bank, people bought bottles of champagne. It wasn't the 80s, it was the 90s. So I kind of missed the 80s, but I think that culture still carried on. So that was seen as like very glamorous and like sophisticated, and everybody had their suit on. But like I was drinking a huge amount on a Friday night, but because it was champagne in a wine bar, it like didn't seem like a problem.
No, it's yeah, that there is you're right about the sophistication, and and when did wine become a thing? But when I in my teens, wine was something that posh people drank, I think. But and
Yeah.
so the wine that just became a normalized thing, and I think that was with supermarkets open, expanding the alcohol section and things like that, and then they'd have an offer on. It was three for a tenner, so why not have
Yeah.
three? It was that then it became the normal thing.
Yeah. Like somebody was asking me about what I used to drink, and I remember I think I told you it went from like cider and blackcurrant when I was a student. When I moved down to London and I was out with my friends, I drank hooch. I don't know if you ever tried that, but that we thought we were like the epitome of sophistication because we drank hooch. And then, but when I was out with people from work, it was like I remember I used to drink vodka and Diet Coke, but I stopped drinking it in London because I didn't like the measures, right? So you used to work in a pub, so you'll get this. The measures used to be a quarter of a Jill in, I don't even know what a Jill is, right? But a quarter of a Jill in Scotland. And then it was like a fifth in London. So I was like, there's no vodka in this. I can't drink this. It's not enough. So then I moved on. I moved on to wine. And um, I'd be out with guys I've worked with, and they would be having like a pint, and I would be having a glass of wine.
Mm.
And there's like way more alcohol in it. And like, I'm like 8 stone, they would be like 12 stone. And then it's like, well, how, like, but because again, we were out after work, we were in a nice bar, it was like a nice setting. it went from sort of harmless fun as a student to like a sophisticated setting.
The wine glasses have grown as well.
Yeah.
They have grown. They used to be 125 ml. They used to be 6 glasses of wine in a bottle. That was the old pub measures. And then the glasses seemed to get bigger, and they introduced a large glass of wine. And then there was an extra large glass of wine. So I have no idea how many glasses of wine are expected to be in a bottle. For me, I think personally it became 3. But that's what it used to be. It used to be 6 glasses out of a bottle of wine, but it's just grown. And I don't know where that became a thing, but it did, and it's what's seems to have become the norm.
Yeah, and I feel like when I look back, because because it was just expected and everybody else was doing it, to me it was just part of like having fun, that you drank a lot. And I noticed whenever I went on holiday, my tolerance went up. It would be so easy to drink like a bottle and a half of wine. Like I think by the end of the holiday I was having like 2 bottles of wine a day. And when I came back from holiday, like I would feel pretty rough, but I thought I was just low because of the end of the holiday. I didn't realize it was like the alcohol leaving my system. But again, that felt quite glamorous, like, oh, I'm on holiday, I'm drinking, in a nice bar by the pool. I'm not like, I'm not sitting in a park bench with a bottle of vodka. So 2 bottles of wine felt like quite a kind of like, I don't know, like an adult, like sophisticated thing to do.
Yeah, but don't forget the holiday starts at the airport now. It doesn't matter what time your flight is. So
That's right, yeah.
And so, but yeah, and I've often come back from holiday thinking, crikey, I need a holiday to get over that. So, but it is this occasion. It looks glamorous, it looks nice, and it's what the grown-ups do. And that's where it's become.
And I think that normalizing a bottle a day is like, like if people often say, well, and I totally get this, it's like, well, it's like if you order a bottle, you're going to finish it. So like when you think about how many more people are drinking at home, like if you were out at a bar, like you would, if the barman asked you what you wanted to drink, you wouldn't say, I'll have a bottle of red, right? You would like have a glass, right? But there's something about when you have it at home, you just finish it. So I think what you're saying about the glasses getting bigger, it's like, the things that I used to tell myself that it wasn't a problem would be like, I drink nice wine, right? When I was in my 30s, right, and 40s, like, oh, it's, I only drink Californian Chardonnay, and I drink it because I like the taste and I like to pair it with foods. I don't drink in the morning, except when I'm on holiday, right? I don't drink before I go to work, right? Yeah. I don't touch spirits. I'd never do that. Like, oh gosh, like there's no way I would have like I remember sharing a flat with this flatmate, and he used to have a straight vodka. And I remember at the time thinking, God, that guy's got a real problem because he's having straight vodka. And it wasn't until I'd done this work and I was like, there's no difference.
No. There's no difference. I mean, it's the same, the same amount of alcohol content in a straight vodka as there is in a glass of wine. So there is no difference, but it's just how we label it, how we badge it, and is it sophisticated or is it a problem? And if you stick with it's a nice bottle of wine, and I'll crack open the Chablis. It's that's where it comes in. I mean, I remember it on TV program Gavin and Stacey. They're in a bar and Nessa says, "I'll have a pint of wine," and everyone thought that was hilarious. But that's the amount we're consuming, and that's not a whole bottle. It's a pint and a half. Is a whole bottle.
Yeah.
So if you were to say I'm having a pint and a half of wine a night, that doesn't sound very good. But if you're saying I'm having a bottle, it sounds so much.
Yeah, it's just like I'd never have more than a bottle. And we think a bottle's like, we think because it comes in a bottle, it's like, well, I only had the one. It's like one bottle is still, I was shocked when I discovered that like a bottle of wine is actually considered binge drinking.
Yeah, it is, and I think the percentages have gone up as well. The alcohol percentages have gone up, and it just but it's how you badge it, it's how you label it, and it's the story you tell yourself that a bottle isn't that much. But in fact, and when you open the second bottle, as I used to do on occasion, more than one occasion, it's that's when it does, it creeps in, and you start feeling ill, it does take its toll, and you end up not feeling great, but you will put it down to something else. Oh, it's the menopause.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the thing that's dangerous as well is, like, if you're out at a place, if you go out now, like, I remember thinking it was like really sophisticated to go for a bottomless brunch. Like, what a brilliant idea! You can drink as much as you want, but because you're in like a nice restaurant, then it's fine.
Yes.
Like, what's the problem? And I think, well, if I was at a bar, or like that would be a huge amount to drink. But because you're sitting with a champagne glass and they just keep filling it up and you don't really know how much you've had, and you're in a nice place and it's bottomless brunch, it's all like a bit of a laugh.
And you're in friends as well, in the crowd of friends, and,
Yeah.
and everybody's doing it. So that makes it more acceptable because everybody's doing it.
Yeah. And like, I can remember like my 40th birthday, like every single present, well, everybody that I remember looking at, like every card had a picture of something alcoholic on it, and like people that like the people in work got me a bottle of champagne. Like if someone didn't like kind of know me that well, I was like, I'll get her a bottle of prosecco or a bottle of champagne. And if I had sat and looked at it, I would have thought, like, why is every single present like alcohol? But like, I just thought that was like, oh, that means that I'm a laugh. Like that means that I'm good fun, and it's like, when did that become normal?
I don't know. I mean, it used to be a box of chocolates, didn't it? If you didn't really know someone. So, but yeah, it just became normalized, and stick it in a bottle bag, it's fine. And it was just, it's an easy present to buy, and we assume that everybody likes it, and we assume that everybody does the same. But again, it's the acceptance thing as well. So
yeah, you go to a restaurant and they're like, red or white.
Here's the wine list.
Yeah. So like, what was it for, like, when did you realize, like, because there's all this conditioning all around us, right? And it's like, hey, it's fine, it's not a problem, like you've got a good job, everybody's doing it, it's pandemic or it's whenever. Like, for you, like, what allowed you to like step out of that bubble where everybody's saying it's okay, and for you to say it's not okay?
I had just got sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, and that is, it sounds like a great strapline, but that is exactly how I felt. I just thought, no, this is enough. This is gone way too far. I'm drinking far more than is good for me. I don't feel well. I feel sluggish every day, and I need to do something about it. And that was it for me. It wasn't because my friends were no longer drinking or things like that. They still carry on. That's fine. But I just knew that mine wasn't normal anymore. And even I think, well, I won't drink this evening, and then at some point I just generally would, despite all my best efforts and digging in on willpower. It just didn't work. I just end up saying, well, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'd tell myself the same story.
Like how is similar, like, I think now, like for decades I was able to convince myself it was normal, and it was only when like I started getting real anxiety, like health anxiety. I think I told you I was getting tested for my eyes and I had to go for like an MRI scan. And I remember it was in the afternoon, I had to leave work to go there. And I was really, really anxious. And I had been drinking a lot that week to try and not think about it. So at night, I would have to have a drink so that if I went out with someone, I would try and take my mind off with alcohol. Before I went for the scan, I went into a pub and I ordered a glass of Prosecco. And I was getting my brain scanned. And when I think about that now, it's like, oh my God. And I think there was just a few things like that. But if that hadn't happened, I think I could have carried on, because I had to say to myself, that's not normal. Like, you don't go in and have a drink before you get a medical checkup. You know, that's,
Yeah.
you can't say that's a lot. It's not like, hey, that's really fun. And it was, you know, it wasn't like a nice, it was like, I was this pub in a sort of Friday afternoon or something. And I went, or in the morning, I remember going in and thinking, this is actually not good. And I think it was because it was not that kind of glamorous setting. But I think if it had still been a glamorous setting, I would have been able to carry on for a lot longer, which is quite scary.
Yeah, I mean, I put a lot of my, well, feeling rubbish down to menopause. And, you know, now that I've stopped drinking, that is very much under control. You know, depression, again. Oh, you know, I suffer with depression. I think a lot of that was the alcohol. I just, you know, and not feeling sharp, and just the general all round feeling pretty rubbish. And it's all down to the alcohol. And since I stopped drinking 21 months ago, I feel pretty marvelous. I feel like a whole new woman, in fact. And yeah, and life is so much better. I don't have health issues. I don't have depression. Like I said, menopause all under control. And, you know, and I feel calmer. I have clarity. I have sharpness. I have my wit. I have my fun. And, you know, and I'm still me. I still go to the pub and socialize with friends. I still go out for nights out. I still go out and dance my little socks off. And, but, you know, I do it now without the alcohol, and I have more fun. I have more clarity, and I wake up in the morning and I can remember every bit of it. And that's pretty special.
It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Like I think I'm so happy that I stopped when I did, because it took me a long time after I stopped to realize how deeply ingrained it was. Because even though I was stopping, I was still telling myself it wasn't that bad. You know, like, oh well, you know, I didn't do that, or you know, I'd hear someone else, oh God, no, I was never that bad. But it's quite shocking when you actually say, well, look at all the times you needed alcohol. Like, look at like you know, like I was telling somebody earlier today, I had 2 glasses of wine the night before I done the London Marathon. I
That's
mean, like I remember saying I'm not having any more than two. And like now I'm like, what on earth was that? Like, how did I think that was okay? But it was a Saturday night, right? Because the marathon was on a Sunday. So like I had like it was like I fitted everything else around the alcohol. So it was like, of course I'm going to drink the night before Saturday night. And it's like, yeah, I'm doing the marathon, but like, you know, everything in moderation.
yeah. Excuse me. I used to fit things in around the alcohol. I mean, if my daughters wanted to live somewhere, I'd say, well, can you hurry? Are you ready yet?
Yeah.
Are you ready? You ready
Yeah, yeah.
yet?
I'll tell you now.
You're eating into me drinking, so, you know, because, you know, and
Yeah.
back, I think, oh my God, you know, that's pretty crap, really. But that's how it was. But, you know, now it's like, Mum, can you pick me up? No problem. Is it
Yeah.
midnight? Yes, of course I can. You know, get my dressing gown on and jump in the car. But it's, you know, putting things off, and just and planning things around drinking. It was just, yeah. Looking back, I'm so glad I stopped when I did. I had, you know, in reality, I wish I'd stopped sooner, but I didn't. So there's no point in coulda, shoulda, wouldas. That just makes for a really bad song, and it really does, isn't it? So, but you know, I am where I am, and I'm very happy about it. So
Fantastic. Yeah, it's brilliant to see how well you're doing. And I think the thing that I would say to people is like you know, if you're listening to this, you don't have to be sat on a park bench with like a can of Tennent's Extra, or be putting vodka in your cornflakes in the morning, right? You can have a good job. You can look outwardly successful. Like somebody asked me in a post in the advert the other day, like, would you think it's okay? And he had a really detailed list of what he was drinking. And I think we can tie ourselves in knots, right? And I think it's the simplest thing to say is, am I in control?
mm.
And I absolutely wasn't. But because everybody around was doing it, because there was all the messaging, there was so many ways. Alcohol had gotten such a hold that I would find any way to justify it. And I think if it was just able to say to myself, are you in control? Like the answer would be absolutely not.
Yeah, I was the same. I mean, you know, someone said a great saying: you don't have to get the lift all the way down to the bottom before you get off, and you absolutely don't. You can get off, but it's knowing now's the time to get off, and you know. So I thankfully I didn't make it all the way to the basement. I got off in the women's wear department, but whatever. So, but I got off. So and yeah, it's just, but it sucks you down and down and down and down.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing, Siobhan. Sounds like we were in a similar place. Really good to chat with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy Friday.
Take care.